I can't profess to know what the answer would be now because I did everything wrong. I quit school early, which most people tell you is wrong. Moved out on my own at 16. Probably not the best idea for everybody. I didn't want to waste any more time.
I'm Peter McCully. On this edition of Today in BC, we'll talk with Colin James, a kid from the prairies who became a blues name in his teens. Over the years, he has won 3 Juno Awards for Entertainer of the Year, a testament to the singer-songwriter's work ethic.
Why spend hours searching dealerships, comparing makes and models? Find the best of BC's inventory in one place, todaysdrive.com. You'll have access to inventory across BC, where you can easily find a vehicle that fits your needs and gets you where you need to go in comfort. Get in the driver's seat. Don't miss out on the many options we have available for you. Powered by Black Press Media, todaysdrive.com connects you with exclusive new and used car deals.
So, Colin, I'm guessing you weren't out on Wascana Lake in Regina playing hockey like most of the kids because you were playing in Celtic bands, traditional bands, when you were just 14.
I was in a Celtic band in grade 9. I would go at noon to my friend's house who played banjo, and there was mandolins, and we would learn traditional Celtic songs. And then I'd go back to school and have to hang out with all that peer pressure and weirdness after spending a perfectly good noon hour with 30-year-olds playing music, In grade 9, I actually took music, and I frustrated my teacher to death. She knew I could play and that I had ears, but I didn't want to learn how to write the music and do the thing. She gave me a 30%. I flunked in grade 9, and I was in that band. And I think they did a Commodore song for the big high school show, and I launched into a 10-minute solo,
So your parents must have been supportive.
Oh, big time. I mean, they took me to see Sonny Terry, Brown and McGee when I was 8 years old, and back in Regina, Saskatchewan, there was a little pizza joint called Sammy's Pizza. And I got to sit on the floor of Sammy's Pizza and watch Sonny Terry, Brown and McGee 2 feet, 3 feet from me, just a little kid sitting on the floor, They didn't play, but they just loved music and really got me out to see even jazz clubs. They took me to see jazz.
Was there an interesting story behind the names of these traditional bands like Sod Hut, Buffalo Chips?
Sod Hut and the Buffalo Chips. I was just a silly, stupid name, but we were more like a collective. 2 auto harp players, a Boram player, 2 banjos, 3 fiddles, 4 acoustic guitars. It was just a bunch of people getting together and playing dances. But it was a great learning place for a 13-year-old, like I was ears wide open all the time.
And not that long after that, you showed up busking in Toronto and Montreal. I think you started in Winnipeg.
Yeah, started busking in Winnipeg. I moved out there and tried to go back to high school, but that was a bust. And realized that, I had to start making some money or, paying my way at the place I was staying. So I'd go out into the Osborne Village and play on the street in Osborne Village, or here and there, do a coffee house here and there for $50 or $25 or whatever it was. I did about a year and a half in Montreal in the early days. Played on the subways for change.
Did you make some for-life musician friends in Toronto and Montreal?
Not really. I was so broke when I lived in Montreal. When I went for an audition at the Rising Sun for Butch Dixon, one of Willie Dixon's sons had a band and there used to be a blues club on St. Catharines called the Rising Sun. I had to carry a twin and at the time I had a 335 in a big wooden pine case with little tiny leather straps. And I had to get on the subway with the amp and the guitar. And it was cutting just like the circulation. Of course I didn't have a car or anything. So everything had to be done by hand. I went all the way down there. I think I was late and they were by the time I got there, you should have been here an hour ago. And we already hired somebody and, So it was a frustrating year and a half being pretty broke. But, eventually I got a job acting out in Saskatchewan and I moved to Saskatchewan. I was in 2 plays in a row, got my union acting card in a couple musicals, did that for about a year. And then I took off to Vancouver, 84, I guess.
What artists have been an influence in the types of music that you've played throughout your career so far? Rock, blues, swing?
Django Reinhardt was a big influence just because he was just so amazing and such a great, he was a jazz player that was maybe a little more approachable, maybe for a guitar player who played Still, I mean, I can't do it. The early Django stuff was kind of jazz, 1930s and 40s jazz classics. But, just like anyone else, Jimi Hendrix, Carlos Santana, early Steve Miller. I loved him as a kid. In fact, I got to talk to Steve Miller's old producer the other day. I got to talk to Jim Gaines the other day, who's 80 years old now. He produced a bunch of Santana records, Bad to the Bone by Thorogood. And it was really nice to talk to him.
So you've been living in Vancouver now for a number of years, and up until COVID-19, you were pretty steady out on the road. I read somewhere you had sold something like 80,000 seats in 3 years before COVID. You like being in front of a live audience. What do you like most about being in front of a live audience every night?
That's a multiply tiered question in the way that, I've never made money off record sales in my life, really. By the time, you owe the record company this and that, videos, back especially in the days when they did videos, because they were so expensive. They were way more expensive than the record. So next thing you know, you're $800,000, $1 million in debt. Live music, not only do I love it, not only is it the only time you really commune with your ability in a way that's adrenaline filled and concentrated, but you have to make a living. And, I used to say as a joke, they can't take live music from us. They can stream us. They can sell us down the river to the major labels. They can do all they want, but they can't take live music. And then 2 years of the pandemic blew my theory to death.
Well, you're back out on the road now.
Yeah, well, we got lots ahead. Looking forward to getting out there. I got a new member of the band up from Austin, Texas, and he's going to play guitar and sing. Coming the new year, we'll probably do a concerted Canadian effort across the country, and I think east to west. After that, we're starting with Buddy Guy in March, and I'm excited to do the opening. We only get about 35 minutes. It's kind of nice when you can walk on stage to maybe some people who don't know you and have the opportunity to have them dig it. I'm looking forward to that.
When you're playing live, do you have a favorite tune that, one that always gets the blood flowing, gets everybody on the right track, gets the band pumping for the rest of the performance?
Yeah, it could change night to night, but I think all of us like to start with one that, especially on the electric shows, to start with one that gets the yayas out, gets the nervous energy out, something that makes you work and play hard. Well, Hidden Charms is one I used to do from the first record. I like that. That was always a really super good little hyper tune. Boogie Funk off my Blue Highways record, the Freddie King song. That's always a good boogie. That's just a fast-paced boogie that gets you going.
Instrumental, yeah.
And sometimes I tie it into another song because it's very much like, I feel so good, I'm gonna boogie till the break of day. It's got the same form as Boogie Till the Break of Day.
With all the touring, do you get a chance to actually spend any time visiting new cities or in countries like a tourist? Or
No, not on the road, because there's no wasted time. Your days are put together for expense reasons as tight as you can, and as many shows as you can do without taxing your voice too hard. So it's always a real balance. You try to do a day off every 4 to 5. Occasionally you'll get a chance to see where you're at, but generally, like every time I'm in Portland, I'm gone in the morning, every single time. I've never had a chance to walk around.
When Today in BC returns, recalling the many musicians Colin has met along the way.
From the latest community news to informative, entertaining reads for travelers and the cannabis curious, just visit your local Black Press Media community newspaper website to sign up today.
I'm Peter McCully. We're back with Colin James, a member of the Canadian Music Industry Hall of Fame. You've run into many interesting characters and great musicians over the years, so I thought perhaps we could get your thoughts and maybe a quick story on who you have played with over the years. So let's call this the speed round of questions. And we'll start with Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Stevie was an amazing experience. I mean, no one has ever kind of gone out of their way like he did for me. When I look back on it now and I think of the chances he took with me, first of all, bringing me on the bus, and I'm sure it wasn't the most popular idea. He really put it out there. I'm very grateful for that. Pop Staples. I got to meet Pop Staples years ago. We hit it off. I met him before Mavis, and now I know Mavis real well. She's a really good friend, and I get to play with her occasionally, although it's been a few years now since I jumped on stage with her. But I just read that she's touring with Bonnie Raitt soon. So Lucinda Williams alternating with Mavis with Bonnie, which will be fantastic. Bonnie, I love Bonnie. Bonnie's bass player, Hutch, is a good friend of mine. He played on my Bad Habits record. Bonnie's been a friend since 1986.
Paddy Maloney of the Chieftains.
Oh, yeah, I love Patty. Patty was great. And unfortunately, hadn't seen each other for quite a while. We shared a publicist years ago, and that's how I met him. I met him in the late 80s.
Long John Baldry?
Was a good friend, sweet guy, funny guy. What a character he was. Carlos Santana, got to play with him a few times, and he's awesome. Years ago we toured with Little Feat. That was a gas. We played all through the South with those guys, and I was pretty good friends with Richie Hayward.
ZZ Top.
Yeah, we did a tour with those guys, and Billy I run into very occasionally, but last time I ran into him was just coming out of a hotel, actually, in Los Angeles. We shared a producer. Joe Hardy just came back, and Joe Hardy did all the last 10 Billy Gibbons records or more. So we shared a friend, and that kind of made us kind of friends by proxy.
And Lenny Kravitz.
Lenny was recording in the Bahamas when I was. So he was recording It Ain't Over Till It's Over, and that whole record next door to me. He enjoyed Savior one day. He heard Savior. He said, "Can I play clav on that?" So he came in and played a clav through a wah-wah on that song. And was a very, very nice guy.
You've just released your 20th studio album, and that's a pretty big number for a Canadian male musician, if you're not Neil Young.
Right.
As a singer-songwriter, where do those songs actually come from?
Well, a lot of them, they're not all mine. So a lot of them come from just growing up and having songs in my head that I loved, and finally getting around to recording the stuff that I always loved, trying to reimagine them, and bring life to them. That's always been my kind of goal, not just to copy them if I can. I find if I'm just copying a song, often I won't do it because there's just no point. So you try to get your own take on it. As far as my own songs, I've been writing all my life. Writing wasn't something that came easy to me. I think some people are writers. I'm not saying I'm not. I never aspired to be. I wanted to be a blues musician who played like my heroes. Making records was kind of one of the last things I thought about as well. Songwriting is the ultimate joy. I mean, when you can think of something out of the air and make it into something real, like Voodoo Thing or like 5 Long Years or like, Just Came Back. 5 Long Years in particular, I meant every word of that song. It's a true story. And I'm glad that became a hit because it was real.
I read somewhere the first single for your new album, Open Road, Down on the Bottom, is actually an old Bob Dylan tune from the 60s.
Yeah, he just wrote it and never put music to it. So the new Basement Tapes was put out a few years ago now, and it was members of different bands, Elvis Costello. And so they recorded that song, and my producer liked it. I'm always happy to have another rock song in the group.
Down on the bottom, down to the last drop in the cup. Down on the bottom, no place to go but up. I was been in trouble nearly all my life. If I was being in trouble, struggle, scorn, and strife. Go find me my bluebird, flying so high up above. Go find me my bluebird, go find me somebody to love. Down on the bottom, down to the last drop in the cup. Down on the bottom, no place to go but up. If I was in trouble nearly all my life, always been in trouble. Struggle, scorn, and strife. Go find me my bluebird, flying
What advice would you have for those planning a career in music these days?
Things are different now, and I can't profess to know what the answer would be now because I did everything wrong. I quit school early, which most people tell you is wrong. Moved out on my own at 16. Probably not the best idea for everybody. Get out there, don't waste time. If you really want to do it, I didn't want to waste any more time. I was 16 and I thought, you know what? Now is the time because I'm not going to sit here for 2 more years. I'm probably not going to go to jazz school anyway. I had to have my grade 12 for jazz school. My dream was to go to Berkeley in Boston or something like that. I just had to get out there. There was no path other than sheer blind faith.
So 2022, what does that bring for Colin James?
And there's just a whack of work to do and look forward to working on whatever record I have to start working on now because I'm kind of ready to start on the next record as far as mentally I can put this one aside now and move on. So time to start getting some songs together.
Thanks to Colin James for joining us on this edition of Today in BC. We would like to hear from you. Send us a voice message with your comments and suggestions. Visit our website, todayinbc.com, or our Facebook page, Today in BC. You'll also find this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, and Google Podcasts.